Welcome to Movie Galaxy. Emile and his dad Francois are arguing in the middle of a traffic congestion, because Emile didn't want to come, making them late. Emile gets fed up with his dad's yelling and gets out of the car. His dad follows him. Suddenly, they see an ambulance shaking, with something screaming inside before the windows break. Francois quickly pulls Emile into hiding. The ambulance doors open, and a strange person that's part bird and part man jumps out and lands on a car. Security men hurry to catch the mutant, who fights and shouts, frightening everyone around the area. The mutant pushes the officers away and escapes. Later, Emile and Francois reach the hospital to see the doctor treating Emile's mother Lana, who is also turning into an animal. Emile is hesitant to see his mother because she accidentally scratched his face, but Francois says she's still their family and insists they visit her. The doctor says there's a better place in the south where Lana can go, and Francois agrees. He wants to move there with Emile for a fresh start, away from people who know Lana and are judging her wrongly. When they both go into Lana's room, Emile sees all the scratches on the walls and stays back. Some weeks pass, and Emile, Francois, and their dog settle into their new house near the forest. Emile starts attending school, and when the teacher introduces Emile to his classmates, Nina asks lots of questions. Emile chooses to lie, saying his mother has passed away, and attributes his scar to being struck by lightning. Later that night, a big storm hits the town. The power goes out, and Emile is awakened by the loud sounds of the wind and lightning. Emile goes to the window to investigate, and is surprised to see a creature peering into the house. However, when Francois restores the power, the creature vanishes. The following day, they receive an urgent call and hurry to the nearby lake, where the police and firefighters have sealed off the area. They learn that the storm caused an ambulance to veer off the road and plunge into the lake. When they witness a police officer retrieving the body of a creature, Francois becomes worried. This ambulance was carrying mutants to the news center, but it crashed, and many mutants died or escaped. The police restrain Francois as he desperately calls for his wife. Officer Julia assures him they haven't found Lana's body, suggesting she might have escaped into the forest. Back home, Francois hangs clothes around the house, hoping Lana will pick up their scent and locate them. The next day at school, the class is playing tug-of-war assigned by their teacher. Emile's entire team falls except for Emile. To everyone's surprise, Emile manages to pull alone long enough in the tug-of-war for his teammates to join him and win. Impressed by his strength, everyone invites him to a party. However, Emile is preoccupied with inspecting his fingers and hurries home. There, he uses tweezers to remove something from under his nails, screaming in pain. He's horrified to find small claws, indicating he's beginning to mutate. Looking in the mirror, he notices changes in the shape of his spine. Emile, furious and ashamed, throws things around the bathroom before getting into the tub to try and wash away his feelings. His dog joins him in to offer comfort. Meanwhile, Francois goes to the mall and runs into Julia, who tells him they've stopped searching for Lana because the government is sending the military. Suddenly, they hear screams as customers spot a creature. Julia orders her team to evacuate everyone, but Francois decides to search for the creature himself, hoping it's Lana. The mutant turns out to be a squid creature craving some fish to eat. When she realizes she's been spotted, she throws a box of shrimp before fleeing. As Julia pursues her, the mutant throws random food to distract her, but Julia, being a trained officer, isn't deterred and eventually captures her. Meanwhile, Francois discovers another creature hiding under a grocery display, clearly frightened, but he chooses not to inform the police. As Friday comes, Emile attends the party and enjoys himself immensely. Emile's classmates are admiring the swords brought by one of the guys at the party. Emile suddenly starts feeling sick caused by the alcohol, and he collapses from his seat. Nina gives him some medicine, but Emile's body involuntarily licks her hand to grab it, which freaks out everyone. Feeling ashamed and embarrassed, Emile flees into the forest, hearing the sounds of other creatures around the area. As morning comes, he wakes up near the lake, startled by the noise of a passing motorboat. He discovers blood in his mouth and spits it out before heading home, noticing anti-mutant graffiti along the way. Once home, he rushes to the bathroom and vomits a feather, realizing he ate a bird the previous night. Ignoring the barriers set up by the police, Francois and Emile venture into the forest to search for Lana. Emile asks his father how he felt when Lana began to change, and Francois explains he was never scared. She was still his wife, and he loved her unconditionally. As night comes, they continue their search in the car, shouting and playing Lana's favorite song at full volume. They spend the night in the car, and as morning comes, Emile notices his nails changing once more. Suddenly, his dog bolts away, and Emile follows, finding him near a tree with a chameleon child. Just then, the Birdman from early scene tackles Emile to the ground, striking him with his wings and claws, causing Emile's shoulder to bleed. The Birdman suddenly stops when he looks into Emile's eyes and realizes he's mutating too. Emile's screams draw Francois to his son, who grabs Emile's arm and warns the Birdman to stay back. They both go back in the car. Francois insists on going to the hospital, but Emile refuses, fearing the truth will be revealed. Their argument nearly causes them to crash into a horse, but Francois manages to stop the car just in time. At that moment, they realize they've arrived at a horse riding school. The police are present, and Julia explains that a mutant attacked the horses. Francois seizes the opportunity to ask for a favor. An army nurse provides Emile with the necessary stitches, accepting the story that his shoulder was bitten by a dog. Back home, Emile removes some of the stitches and begins licking the wound. During a lab class later on, Emile notices that Nina is wearing a necklace with a feather similar to the one he vomited. This realization causes him to panic, but Nina quickly confronts him about it. He finds it difficult to concentrate in class as he's distracted by the squeaking of the ferrets in their cage. Eventually, he snaps and shouts at them, telling them to be quiet. After class, Emile struggles to ride his bike due to his body changes. Nina tries to be supportive, even inviting Emile to hang out at her house. While preparing a snack, Emile opens the fridge and discovers a dead bird. Nina explains she found it at her door after the party and took its feather for the necklace. At that moment, Emile then realizes he didn't eat the bird. Instead, he left it for her as a gift. Nina plans to donate the dead bird as food for the mutants, that's why she is keeping it. Later, Emile wades into the lake and catches a fish with his bare hands, observed by a neighbor. He then searches for the Birdman, who is attempting to fly but keeps falling to the ground repeatedly. Emile leaves the fish for him, and he tells Emile that he calls himself Fix because he can't remember his real identity. Seeing Fix's injuries from his failed attempts at flight, Emile suggests a safer place to practice and takes him to the lake. After Emile clears the branches from the water to prevent further injuries, Fix agrees to practice there. In the evening, Emile struggles to ride his bike home and decides to leave it in the forest, planning to tell his father it was stolen. Meanwhile, at the bar where Francois works, he finds out the owner has made anti-mutant t-shirts, which irritates him. While taking out the trash, Francois hears noises in the backyard and is suddenly grabbed by a creature, who pushes him to the ground. Seeing the creature chained up, Francois attempts to calm it down peacefully. Francois sees a second creature that escapes, causing chaos. A co-worker uses an oar to push the creature back, revealing it to be her relative. She's been hiding the creature at work. Together, they try to guide the mutant back into the hiding spot, but it panics and dashes to the front of the bar, causing everyone to panic and run out of the bar. Francois thinks the mutant that ran away could have been Lana, so he rushes to the forest. In the forest, he finds his wife who has already mutated into a bear that growls at him before leaving. At school, Emile finds a tooth in his mouth during lunch, and he pretends it's a baby tooth when others feel disgusted. During the day, he goes to visit Fix, who struggles to learn to fly and keeps falling into the water repeatedly. When Fix rests, Emile checks his injuries and takes off the bandage on his face. He sees that the doctors did a bad job removing the growing beak. In the evening, Julia joins Francois in the forest to help him find Lana. They don't find Lana, but Francois is surprised to find Emile's bicycle. When he gets home, Francois finds the bathroom sink is blocked, so he takes apart the pipe to fix it. Inside the pipe, Francois discovers lots of hair and some claws, which makes him realize that Emile is also changing. When Emile comes home, Francois shows him the claws and the bike, but Emile denies everything. Francois locks up the house and won't let him in until he tells the truth, so Emile tries to escape. Francois chases after him and tackles him to the ground, hugging Emile tightly as he breaks down. The next morning, instead of using a fork, Emile eats directly from his plate, but Francois remains supportive. Francois also gives Emile some of Lana's medication to help him control his impulses at school. Francois also checks Emile's mouth and confirms that the fangs are at the back for now, so others won't notice them. He reminds Emile to trim his nails daily and puts cotton in his ears before covering them with hair to help with his sensitive hearing. Lastly, Francois shows Emile how to use a hair removal cream on his body. Later that day, while taking a walk outside the house, Emile talks with Nina on the phone. Emile then asks Nina to scream, and when she does, he's thrilled to find out he can hear her all the way from where he is. The next day, Emile goes to see Fix and finds out he can't talk anymore, only make bird sounds. After Emile hugs him, Fix climbs up a tree and jumps, showing he can finally fly and loves doing it. Later, Emile goes to the festival where his father is working. Francois is furious to see him because Emile should be in hiding, and they argue, which quickly turns into a physical fight. Emile angrily bites his dad on the shoulder and refuses to let go until Francois threatens him with scissors. Feeling upset and confused, Emile walks away and accidentally runs into Nina. She invites him to take a walk through the cornfields. The two start kissing, and things escalate quickly, so they decide to lie down in the dirt. When Emile takes off his shirt, Nina notices the hair and the changed spine, but she tells him she already knew and continues anyway. Afterward, the two to the festival. Emile goes to the bathroom, where a classmate cornered him. He saw him and Nina in the field earlier. The classmate uses a device that emits a sound only animals can hear, hurting Emile's ears. Frightened, Emile attacks the boy, leaving scratch marks on his face. Emile then runs to hide in the field while the boy alerts the locals, who grab their weapons and call the police. Soon, a dog discovers Emile, but he scares it away with a bark. When the dog runs off, two men nearby start shooting in its direction, setting off an alarm. Emile runs as fast as he can with a crowd of people chasing him. Just as one man is about to shoot him, Fix swoops in and pushes the man away, accidentally killing him with his claws. Then Fix flies into the forest, signaling for Emile to follow. A police car joins the chase, but Emile crosses a lake to try and stop them. Sadly, the frustrated men on the other side start shooting, hitting Fix. Emile rushes to help his friend and cries as Fix dies in his arms. Minutes later, Francois and the hunters discover Fix's body but find no trace of Emile. Meanwhile, in town, a large mutant is lurking around as army trucks head towards the forest. The next day, Emile stays hidden in the forest, surviving by eating any fruit he can find. When evening comes, he climbs a tree and joins the chorus of nocturnal creatures by howling. The following night, a storm hits the area, so Emile seeks shelter inside a cave. Emile gets frightened when a bear approaches him, only to realize it's his mother, Lana. They gently bump their foreheads together to show their love for each other, then Lana leaves, expecting Emile to follow. Emile obeys and finds a community of mutants living together peacefully, including the chameleon girl. Suddenly, flares shoot through the sky, indicating that the army has discovered them. Emile and the other mutants try to flee and hide, but the soldiers use a painful sound that incapacitates the mutants, causing them to drop to the ground in agony and be captured. The only one who manages to escape is the chameleon girl, using her camouflage ability to hide. Later, at the police station, Francois assists Emile in claiming that he had been intoxicated and mistakenly ended up in the forest. However, when Emile tries to sign the release papers, his hand refuses to grip the pen and accidentally breaks the sheet. When the officer offers him another sheet, Emile involuntarily growls at him. Francois quickly intervenes, pushing the officer to incapacitate him before he can press the alarm. The officer is knocked out cold as Francois quickly signs the document himself and shows it to the receptionist, allowing them to leave without any further questions. They rush to their car to leave town, but soon they're being pursued by the police. Francois assures Emile that he won't let them take him to any institution and drives as fast as he can, crashing through a fence to reach the forest. Once there, Francois tells Emile to run, and Emile does so, expressing his joy with a howl of happiness. Thanks for watching our recap video. See you on the next one.